Hello Sioux Falls and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of November. My name is Jason Bieber with the Planning Office at the City of Sioux Falls, and joining me now is Karla, another urban planner with our office.
We are back again.
We are back for a whole nother month of fun. We only got 2 months left of 2025 and then we'll be on to 2026. Would have thought.
Let's make it a good one.
All right, let's get into this. Not a ton of stuff, but this is typically what we see kind of as it starts to turn into late fall, winter, that kind of stuff. So first one here, we've got, looks like a rezoning for from some multifamily to some conservation out there on 69th Street and Sycamore Avenue.
Yep, so this is a little bit of a cleanup. Some of this is already identified as conservation, but some of the other area will additionally be identified as conservation. And then there is some bike trail connection and there will be public drainage conveyed throughout this conservation area. So we can support this one to be rezoned as such. To
go to the conservation area, and then that also helps the developer. They don't have to maintain it. Like you said, it's good for us too because they got that future, hopefully, bike trail going through there. So another great amenity to be able to add down the line. Next one we got here looks like it's rezoning from conservation to single family. So the opposite. And this is kind of up on East Madison and east of North 6 Mile, kind of northeast of Fred Assam Elementary School, correct?
Yeah, a portion of the lot is being sold off to the single family house that's directly adjacent to there, and then he will acquire that land and make his lot a little bit bigger since it's not needed for any conservation efforts.
So this is a little portion of an existing drainage pond, I think, right? Which is good that the developer can kind of work with the property owner that wants some additional land. They don't need it, so that's great. Next we've got here is, it looks like some live work to C2 commercial at 2401 North Career Avenue. Is this kind of Career in Madison, northwest corner?
Yep, you got it. So a portion of this is going to be a gas station, but I think they need a little bit more land, so they acquired some more land to the north, and that area is identified as live work, so you got to make that commercial in order to do the gas station there. So that's what they're doing here.
And then they'll still have, they're just taking, like you just said, a small strip, so they'll be able to still have that kind of transition to the existing residential neighborhood to the northwest, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Good. Another gas station. We don't have many of those. So
no, we need more gas stations.
Yeah, I bet. This one I'm kind of a little excited for. I'm not that close to it, but another kind of a cool little thing. It's a conditional use permit for a drive-through facility and stacking of motor vehicles. And I believe this is the southeast corner of East 57th Street and South Bonson Avenue. I think they're just building kind of a standalone Mexican restaurant. Is that true?
Yeah, it's a drive-through service facility. We're bringing some mixed-use concepts to the suburbs, so I'm pretty excited as a planner to introduce different components to areas that haven't experienced it, to have more options for residents. But yes, they will be doing a standalone quick service taco shop, and then because the parcels adjacent to it are the apartment complex, we want to be sure that the menu boards are facing away from them and that the stacking and queuing is also away from the apartments. So that's what the ask is here.
Yeah, and this is kind of that Lloyd development built a bunch of apartments in there, so have a bunch of people, so hopefully it can support this kind of restaurant type business there. Easy walkable too for the neighborhood across there. So it's kind of like you said, a nice little neighborhood. It's not technically neighborhood commercial, but it's kind of a small little restaurant within an existing neighborhood. So hopefully it does well over there so we can see some more of those concepts. But
I agree.
All right, well that looks like what we got for November, huh?
Yep.
All right.
That's it.
Thanks for coming by.
You bet. Thank you.
Stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, we're going to have Mariah South, our newest fire plans examiner, to talk a little bit about her position and what it means for our department and also the fire department. So stay tuned.
Hey, this is Seth and I work for the City of Sioux Falls in the Housing Division. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about gutters and why it's important to make sure that your gutters are clean going into the winter. I know right now it looks nice and sunny and warm, but real soon, as we all know, it's going to get cold and water's going to freeze. And so if you see this gutter right here is full of leaves and even has a little bit of dirt. That dirt is actually leaves that have decomposed into dirt. And so if that's left long enough, you'll actually get vegetation growing out of your gutters. And that's a really bad thing for a couple reasons. Water can build up and actually sag your gutters if they're plugged, and it changes the slope of the gutter. So it no longer pushes the water down to the downspout and out. It actually gets into a little sag in the middle of the gutter, and it'll actually tear your gutter off, or your gutter will come off because of that. Also, another great reason to clean your gutters is simply just to keep up on your home. So when your gutters fill up, they can no longer direct the water down into the downspout, and it goes directly over straight down into what we would call the drip line of the foundation, which is about a foot or two away from your foundation. This actually causes a lot of issues in basements. One of the biggest issues we have in our single-family rehab is basements that are cracking, water coming in, just a lot of foundation issues, and that's oftentimes caused by just clogged gutters. So water goes down to the drip line, saturates that soil, and then winter comes, it freezes. We all know ice expands. When it freezes, puts pressure on the foundation and starts cracking up your home. One last thing with gutters I'd like to explain to you is when they get plugged up, they actually cause the water to back up into the roof. And if you've heard of ice dams on your roof, oftentimes it starts with your gutter. And so water freezes in your gutter, and ice above the gutter melts. And somewhere in the middle, there's water that is just sitting there that can't get out down the roof. And so you have a couple layers of ice and water that the contractors have to put on your home. The first two, about 6 feet, is ice and water. That gives you a little protection, but ultimately with standing water, you're gonna have water coming into the roof, down and into your home, and then you're gonna have a lot of issues. So ultimately, keeping your gutters clean is a really important thing to do to your home. It's pretty simple. If you can just climb up on usually a 6 or 8 foot ladder is plenty big enough. Grab some handfuls and clean it out. And if you can't get up on a ladder, paying somebody to do this is worth it. Thanks for watching today's Home Maintenance Minute.
Welcome back to Planning Preview for the month of November. Joining me now is Mariah, our Fire Plans Examiner with the Building Services Department. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we wanted to have you on the show because you've been with the Building Services Department for how long now?
A little over 7 years.
And before that, you were what we call the Plans Examiner and kind of just looked strictly at the building code side of building permits, correct?
Correct.
And then we have you recently got a new job or a new kind of classification called the Fire Plans Examiner within our department, right?
Yes.
And that was kind of a cooperation between us and the fire department, correct? To kind of bring maybe this position from the fire department over to our department.
Right. So building services and building plans examiners and the fire code and the fire plans examiners have always kind of worked together, but it's been a little more separated and I don't want to say disjointed, but not as collaborative as it could be. And so kind of the intention was to bring that position to building services to work a little more closely, since we both work out of the same I-code grouping of building codes. Yeah,
and because when you talk about disjointed, I know that your department, my department, are in City Center, which is right across from the library. The Fire Plans Examiner was way over in City Hall, which is about 2.5 blocks away. So you physically were separated quite a bit, which isn't as big of a deal now with online software and that kind of stuff. But now I think it's great because you're actually physically sitting right next to the other plans examiners.
Yes.
So you're able to kind of talk to them about not only the building code but the fire code and kind of create way more efficiencies in getting permits completed.
Yeah, so a lot of the fire code will be dependent on what the building plans examiners find during their reviews. So it's nice, for instance, if an occupant load determines whether a fire alarm is required or not, I can just turn around and ask the building plans examiner, hey, what'd you get for an occupant load on this? And I can have that answer immediately, and we can work through some of those questions and issues that might come up that cross over quite a bit more.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things with that is we always hear it that, oh, it takes a long time for plans to get approved and stuff. So this to me is just another great way with our department and the city overall kind of being more innovative to try and speed things up. And one department saying, okay, I think you're more efficient in this other department. We'll give you that FTE, and you do the fire plans examiner to really speed up the building permits.
Yes. Yep.
So it's just a great aspect of us working together. So what made you, because like I said, before you did plans examiner, more of the building side, what made you want to try the fire plans examiner position?
Well, I've always been kind of interested about fire. I know that I'm not a pyro or anything like that, but just the fire code side of things and the way that they deal with things is a little bit different than the way that building does, and just kind of in an interest of self-improvement and learning more and doing better in all aspects of my job. I just really appreciate that opportunity.
Yeah, and like I said, so as part of that, like when you were given the position, or you earned the position, given's the wrong one, but when you applied for it and earned the position, what are like some things that you can foresee in the next couple of years that you kind of want to bring to it, maybe to increase the efficiency or to continue to speed up building permit plans?
Yeah, so hopefully catching things a little bit earlier with that collaboration with other departments. And it's not just building. I'm also now in the same building as engineering, and there's a lot of engineering crossover with site layout. And so being able to just go up and talk through some of those things and be available more for meetings on the fly and that type of thing, hopefully we'll catch some things that won't wait until the plans are actually fully complete to find. So hopefully that'll speed things up. And then obviously with zoning and building, all of that being in one location, it hopefully will make things a little bit more efficient.
So with your position, you not only look at, if we're building, say, a new restaurant, you not only look at the inside of the building, but you're also looking at like fire turnaround, sprinkler, or not sprinklers, but being able to get around the building to put fires out, and that's too?
Yep, fire access, hydrant locations, where's the FDC located at, all of those things that are put in place before the building plans are even fully completed a lot of times, are being worked through as the site layout is. So hopefully, yeah, like I said, that's kind of what I've been reviewing and working towards familiarizing myself with, because it wasn't as big of a priority in the building side of things.
So there's next couple questions kind of go together a little bit, I would say. But how does your work make a difference for the residents and businesses of Sioux Falls? And then what do you say to people that say, oh, extra rules just provide extra costs and more time? When we upgrade the fire code or we upgrade the building code, what would you say to those kind of people?
So a lot of times, first off, code changes are most often at this point clarifications. They're not really full-fledged changes. It just makes it so that we can more accurately apply the code where it needs to be applied and not over-apply it and over-regulate things that don't need regulation. It's easier to change plans on paper than it is in the field. And so sometimes taking an extra hour to do a plan review or an extra day to do a plan review can save 3 weeks of rework down the road and a lot of money. And so hopefully, by reviewing those plans and doing a good complete plan review, we'll be able to, again, in collaboration with those other departments, be able to head off some of that rework and make a safer community and a safer building. Yeah,
and I think that's a great point, especially when I always think of like what your job does and also the other building people. I think of more like multifamily, like if I'm going to rent an apartment, I want to make sure that it's been looked at for, fire code, sprinklers, whatever those are, building code, to make sure myself and my family are safe in there. So I think that's one of the big things that you and the rest of the building team really look at.
And the other big thing with the fire side is the response to events. And a lot of those, hydrant locations, that's a setup for a response to an event, or being able to access the front of the building quickly without having to, drive around the building, try to find a way to get in there. that just increases response times to medical events and fires and other events where we may have to respond. So it's really just future planning for an event we hope never happens, but if it does, we want to be as prepared and as ready as we can.
Yep, and that's a great answer to that. So you talked a little bit about it, but which departments would you say you work the most closely with?
I still work with building probably the most out of anybody, but it's been kind of a surprise that I've worked with engineering as much as we have to try and get our engineering standards aligned with what the fire code requires, and making sure that that's implemented at the subdivision side of things and not, or at the development side of things before we get to the actual building permit side.
So would you say that with you working on that now, that was something that maybe when this position was in the fire department, they weren't quite as proactive about working with engineering just because they weren't in the same building, and now that you guys are so close and you've kind of built those relationships with the people up in engineering, that you can really work on them changing some of their guidelines so everything kind of fits together?
Yeah, and I bring the ability to, I already have relationships with a lot of those people in the other departments just from my prior role, and so that communication is already there, and it's just increasing with the different types of conversations and questions that are coming up. So it's been an awesome thing to see. I know it's been kind of a rough ride at times, but it I think genuinely is making a difference, and hopefully it will continue in that direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. So what would you say? So you've been doing this how long? 6 months?
About 6 months.
Okay, good. I'm good at guessing. So 6 months. What would you say is one of the things you like most about your new role here?
Learning more.
Yeah.
You think you know a lot of things, and then as soon as you put a different perspective and a different spin on things, you're like, oh, I totally view what I viewed before as one way. It really changes the perspective on something and opens your eyes to a different way of looking at things. So I've really enjoyed the collaboration and learning new things, not only about my own department and my own specific job roles, but also why other departments are looking for what they're looking for.
So, and how many books did you have to add to your thing that you can go through?
I don't even know how many books are in NFPA, but I have this sweet new website I get to use all the time.
That's awesome. And so the vice versa of that, what maybe surprised you, or do you find most challenging with your new role?
The learning.
Still the learning. Yeah,
I mean, it's the best thing, and probably the thing that it just takes time to learn new things, and so to jump in kind of in the middle. I mean, it's not like plan reviews just stopped when I started this position, and so to jump in, luckily because I already worked at the city, I know the software that we have, but trying to apply new codes that I'm not as familiar with and learn and read and do all of that. That's probably been the most challenging of this change.
Yeah, like we talked a little bit about it, moving that position from City Hall over, you didn't have to move your seat, and you still get to, as you guys refer to it, as the pit, to be able to collaborate with the other building plans examiners, and then all of the other inspectors are all over there, so I always hear you guys talking. It's just awesome that all can kind of be together and collaborate on one project. So if people watching this have questions, would they, any kind of like fire code or fire stuff for a building, would that all then run through you type questions?
Yes. So if it's a fire specific question, you can certainly get a hold of me. Otherwise, sometimes it'll end up being kind of a crossover between building and fire. The nice thing is, again, because I'm at City Center, if you wanted to come in, you can meet with both of us pretty readily, even if you don't have an appointment. We'd still recommend getting an appointment, but it just makes it a little more accessible to ask those questions. But yeah, you can always email, call me, and I'd be happy to look into your question. Well,
like I said, I think it's awesome that you got this new position, and I sit pretty close to you guys, so I've seen the efficiencies, which is awesome, and everybody working together. So I think it's not only it's improved so much in 6 months, but kind of the sky's the limit with how much more efficient we can be with permits. And as you know, you see it over there, we're not slowing down any. We're probably going to have our second biggest year ever. So it's just great that as we don't hire more staff, but we become more efficient so we can do them faster still with the same amount of people.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Mariah. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us for Planning Preview for the month of November. As always, we do have public input for any of the items that we talked about tonight, and also we do have public input at the end of the agenda to talk anything planning related. The meeting this month is on November 5th at the Carnegie Town Hall at 6 o'clock. So thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.